Well, you're waiting for a sign, and here's that sign here. So we've got the eclipse season right now that we're dealing with. We just are moving into it now. And with this eclipse, a lot of people are looking at the negative stuff that comes with the eclipses, with the eclipse season, just in general, because it is a disruptive energy. It's an energy that clears things out, but really, when we're looking at the Jupiterian vibe behind this, too, you have to think of it as what is it clearing out so it can bring things in. That's the really important part. What is it clearing out so it can bring something bigger and better in that's going to expand your life, that's going to create more abundance in your life. And then there's even a little Uranian vibe going on with this eclipse too, where it is disruptive. That's most eclipses anyway, but we've got this stellium going on in Leo. We've got Mercury, the sun, the moon, the south node, Jupiter, all these in Leo right now. So it's really highlighting this Leo energy and the Leo aspect of life itself, and what it's moving us through, all of these things. But really, we're going to go into each zodiac sign here and do like a short little card pull. We'll do a collective pull at the end here, of course, and really hone in on what we can expect for the next 6 months. If you think back 6 months here into from the last eclipse season that we had, what was going on for you 6 months ago? What was going on back in, when we had that great conjunction, even mid-February? A lot of people can hone in on this time during mid-February where there was a big life pivot. What have you built from now until then? You see these reverberations about those things, and now we're going into the next cycle here, where for the next 6 months, whatever this eclipse is going to bring in, it's going to clear some things out so new things can come in, which is really just the beautiful part of it. It's an eclipse that is falling in this really interesting way where, how would I say this? It's in this interesting way where we get to deal with the inner chaos as light workers before the rest of the people are dealing with the chaos, which is kind of going to be more of that October time frame, making these pivots. There's these themes around money that are coming up, and we're going to have the collective themes around money October when we have the Venus and the Mercury retrograde going on. And there is going to be something around the financial system itself, the instability of it, as we see all these institutions failing and crumbling. Even with the Mercury retrograde in there too, there's some disruption of commerce. We had the sneak peek of Chiron and Taurus. That sneak peek right there is really speaking to what instability do I have around resources? Where am I using my resources, my money, as a tool of self-worth? How would I be able to pivot that and still feel worthy of love, of being able to have things and be around people, be a part of people's lives when I have less available? How can I pool resources, deal with people, all that stuff? We got a little bit of a sneak peek for that. And now we, of course, are retrograding back into Aries here with that Chiron placement. But yeah, we're going to do some card pulls for every sign. I hope everyone is having a great eclipse. Definitely feeling some incredible energy today. I always expect the best and prepare for the worst when it comes to an eclipse. So it's good that I only prepared for the worst, because definitely feeling some good energy. Now, that's not speaking to what may happen in the collective in the next 2 to 3 weeks here, but, at least it's seeming like some good energy that we're in right now. But let me go ahead and get started here. We're going to be pulling from 2 decks now, okay? So I've got the Elemental Energies deck right here. Let me make sure we can get a good view on the Elemental Energies. And then I've got the Higher Self Messages Oracle deck. And I'll kind of show the box here. Higher Self Messages Oracle deck. And then this is the box for the Elemental Energies here. And I'll just do one card for each one. And it's really going to be what you can expect going into this. That'll be the elemental energies, just something that the energy that you can expect to connect with as a zodiac sign. And then we're going to do the message from your higher self. That message coming in from the higher self that they want you to know. That's going to just aid you throughout this process, okay? And we'll go ahead and we'll start with Aries. And for Aries, what's been going on, just as I'm shuffling, what's been going on with Aries right now, of course, for a lot of Aries, I'm seeing a project that they've been working with. There's a project, the Lionsgate brought, it can be some type of project, or even considering it like a baby. So like can be actual children that it deals with too. You could be dealing with stuff with the child, but definitely the Lionsgate brought on this need to either shelve the project or put a hold on the project. Like I said, this can also deal with kids. It's all the creativity, heart-centered stuff, being more in tune with your heart, that kind of stuff. But putting a hold on it, pivoting on it, or actually publishing that. You have all these themes that are coming up around that stuff right now. And so what that's going to tell you, especially as Jupiter comes in here, is what more can you do with that? Either before you have put this out to the world, you put it out to the world, you're seeing other ways in which you can tap into it and do things. So that's really a big part of this Aries energy, dealing directly with the fifth house energy here. And really what I always say with Aries is it's a straightforward chart, but I also think that they feel transits on kind of an amplified way. And it's very in line with the Aries vibe too, feeling something in a much more amplified way. All right, so let's go ahead with the elemental energies. What is the energy this eclipse is bringing in for you, Aries? All right, we've got Aurora Awakenings right here, Aurora Awakenings. Experience the awakening energies of the aurora, igniting inspiration and creativity. And I feel like that is just so perfect, igniting the inspiration, creativity. I'm just talking about that, but it is this new level of being in tune with your heart, being in your creative energy, all that kind of stuff. And what are the things you're working on? What are you pouring your heart into? Like I said, what is your baby? And then also where it comes to, I like to bring up this children part of the Leo energy if you have children, because, maybe you're fostering their creativity. Maybe that's something that you've got going on, fostering your child's creativity. And you could even say investing more into your kid. Maybe you're getting them into swimming lessons all of a sudden for the summer. They're finally old enough to swim, and that's something that you're doing. But there is this huge investment that you're making into that, and it's bringing about an awakening too, that aurora awakening right there. Experience the awakening energies of the aurora. And then even when you're talking about the aurora itself, what is that? It's a very magnetic thing. And then with the eclipses, that's a magnetic event that we're dealing with right now as the eclipse is going down. Very magnetic. And so how is this going to magnetize something in your life that is really going to, like I said, dealing with the eclipse, is going to remove something to bring something greater in? So maybe the project isn't quite the way that you wanted it to be. You got to pull back on that project and then release something even better. That might be a bummer at first because you've invested so much, but you need to invest less time in it at this point. So it gets really into that artsy, fun kind of vibe, and just being in tune with yourself, doing what you actually love. So with Aries, I'm seeing this pivot of focusing more on what you actually love since around the beginning of the year. And let's see what the higher self has to say for you. All right, higher self. What message do you have for Aries right now? And the beautiful thing about this is you've got new contracts that can come through right now. As Venus has moved into Libra, into your 7th house there, you've got new contracts, new business dealings that can come through, new ways and modes to make money, and new people that you're attracting to yourself, okay, that are all going to be a part of whatever this big thing is that you've been working on. Okay, and let's see what your higher self wants you to know about this. Okay, what you seek is seeking you. When you rest, it will find you. Let's just make sure that's, yeah. And that goes totally in line with what I was just saying too. It's like all these things are being attracted to you. It's more specifically on who's going to notice what you're doing right now, what you've been working on, what you've been putting things into. And then where you even go into the thing where I'm talking about these themes with the child, if you have children or something like that. Maybe you thought that because you're a single mom or like a single dad or something like that, that you wouldn't be able to find that long-term commitment from someone who's going to like take on a kid and take on all this Aries energy and me too. But then this really speaks to a perfect opening where you have something beautiful that can come in through Venus transiting that, through being able to attract that, someone who will actually care about your child, all that stuff. But in terms of the creativity and the project and stuff going on like that, this is really speaking to, yeah, new business ventures coming in, new agreements you can make with people, all sorts of stuff like that, that are really going to elevate you in terms of money, in terms of figuring these things out. And of course, we were talking about, when we're talking about the Chiron in Taurus and stuff, these themes that came up around money, this may have been something you noticed recently too. But yeah, what you seek is seeking you. When you rest, it will find you. Okay, and then the Aurora awakenings. Okay, awaken the Aurora inside you, and then igniting inspiration and creativity. So we got that going on there. We'll move ahead to Taurus here. And Taurus, what Taurus has been dealing with, of course, like it's been major things, not just around the home, but definitely home stuff can be involved in that. But really what you've been dealing with, and stuff where it deals with the roots, the foundation. This can be even like a little bit of the intuition about something, but there is this home theme that comes up, a security theme too. What are the things going on security wise for me? And how can I see these things getting better? What needs to be taken out? And you're one of the signs where you've kind of seen this coming on. And with Taurus being the way that it is, there is that stubbornness that comes in, this resistance to change. Maybe the Lion's Gate is what brought that in, where you could identify it. And this eclipse is that moment where you have to either make the choice or have that choice be made for you, where something is going to be removed so that you can focus on what you really need to focus on. And it's going to be family, the home, your roots, your childhood. Even if there's like something coming up from your childhood, these kind of things are all coming together. And you might have even seen childhood stuff coming up back in June here, like late June into July. There could have been these childhood themes that are coming up that now you're realizing why they came up and everything like that. But specifically major things around the home, and it can even be home renovations and stuff like that, but some pivot around the vibe of the home that's been going on. And this eclipse is really going to highlight that. And then for the next 6 months here, we can see what that's bringing forward. All right. And then this is very kind of an emotional card too. It's Oceanic Omens. Oceanic Omens. Okay. And then decode the Oceanic Omens, recognizing the messages and guidance that waves bring. And this is what I'm talking about, like something to be corrected in the home environment. So this can deal with another person, but it is an omen that comes in. And then, if you're even looking at the card itself, it definitely, it has like an eclipse energy to it. I wouldn't necessarily call it an eclipse itself, but there is this eclipsing of the sun. There's the clouds over it. There's the water that's coming in, and the waters are very turbulent too. Waters are like quite turbulent on that. So you got that going on, but there's going to be some type of message, some type of guidance that comes in around the home. And then the home itself is kind of watery. It's where you feel that emotional security. Like there's an earthy part to the home too. But if you're really looking at the comfort that the home brings, that's more in the water vibe of the element. So you got that part going on. And this is going to really apply differently to any Taurus situation, because it's going to depend on your ascendant sign too. And you can look at your ascendant sign too and combine it with this as I go over it into these readings. But let's see what the higher self message is, because yeah, just big stuff around some, and this can even it could be a big move too. That's a huge one. It could be a big move right now, or like you recently moved and you're having to deal with things in the home. Yeah, just stuff like that. And what does your higher self want you to know for this eclipse here? I like this. You've had the power all along. Now you just need to believe it. And that's the thing. However this is hitting you in your chart, whether you're in a new place, whether you're making changes to your home, all these things, is the important thing is to not feel powerless in this stuff, because you've had the power. And you look at, you're on that axis with Scorpio. And there are things that are kind of going on that are scorpionic within the home. I know that was part of some other readings that I've given too. Is a scorpionic vibe, unearthing things in the home, unearthing secrets, whether it's with someone you live with, or even unearthing, what would you say? Like things that you didn't realize were wrong with the home, all that stuff. But like you actually have the power, okay? And that's another thing Scorpio rules is that power too. You got that power, and you have to remember that because you are in that oppositional energy of that power dynamic there. That's the thing to just really remember is like and it's about this thing that we all recognize as light workers, which is kind of as long as you have a thing that you need to do and you act like it's already done, you have the power to do it, then it's going to get done. It's very much in the vibe of that energy. So that's what you want to take on and just understand about this. And I would even say that the eclipse is going to show you where you have that power. It's going to strip something bare for you, and then you realize where you have this agency that perhaps you didn't think you had before. Maybe out of a place of comfort, wanting to maintain comfort, wanting some level of stability. So whatever this is, it can be that living situation, a person you live with, anything around all this stuff, even just things with the family itself. That's kind of where you're going to realize like, oh, I've had the power all along in this thing. I don't need to put up with this. I don't need to, and stepping into that. And this begins a whole 6-month process of that until we get to the next eclipse season here. So, all right. And then we're going to move over here to Gemini here. Geminis, it's been interesting. Gemini have been dealing with, of course, you had Uranus move into your sign. So there's this kind of, I guess you could say, otherworldliness that you're working with. It's kind of like this rebellious nature that you've always had within you. On some level, it just can't help itself but come up. And working with people too, you're going to find yourself over the next 7 years like working with a lot more people, making a lot more connections, falling into all this stuff. But where for Gemini, where everything is falling for you right now, it's really about, I would say, your money situation, knowing your own value, maybe getting a promotion or a raise, that kind of stuff. There is some type of expansion coming in around money, but maybe the avenues in which that you make money, there's less of them. Like there was something that was cleared out recently in an avenue, because I see this a lot with Geminis, is there's usually multiple ways in which they make money. It's very, they can zip around and do all these different things, very much of that energy. But what I would say is also with the self-worth stuff we talk about with Chiron, it's hitting on a much bigger level, and the universe is calling on you to understand your worth when it comes to a job, when it comes to clients that you take on, whichever form your career is taking like that, understanding and knowing your worth on a deeper level. That's like the really, really important part with Gemini. So there's that. And then also, who is going to come up for you in terms of who's arriving new for you, that it's going to be part of your new daily work routine, essentially. You've got this, it's kind of this vibe of the work environment changing a little bit, making new friends at work because of all this. So there's this shifting around your daily work, your daily associations, the people you connect with, your networking, you could even say, that kind of stuff. And it's all tied into this potential you have to make a lot more money, to have more resources, to save more money, these kind of things. So really, really important there. But let's take a look at your energies. So we've got lunar luminescence. Lunar luminescence right here. Okay, and bask in the lunar luminescence, absorbing the intuitive and reflective energies of the moon. And yeah, so we got that moon energy that's coming in for the eclipse, of course, too. So it's like, what is this triggering? This can be on an emotional level, but more specifically just on an internal level. What is this moon really triggering for you and showing you? And not so much the moon as much as the eclipse. That's what an eclipse is. It's a new moon. But a solar eclipse, rather, is a new moon. But Yeah, what I'm getting through this is just like there's this new, with these new associations you have with people, with this new environment you've not placed yourself in, and even new self-worth that you're moving into right now with the way things are shifting. Of course, you can see this being triggered around the eclipse, but what is this having you feel? Okay, what's coming up right here? And through that, you're actually able to kind of get into this alchemical transformation. And that's so funny because, Gemini is a very alchemical sign. So that's really important to remember. It's very much alchemical. And there is something that's coming up with, yes, the emotions, the internal system, the intuitiveness, all of that, and this connection to the moon. And I would even say, once we get to the lunar eclipse, that's going to be in Pisces. This could be a like 2 week process where all of a sudden, oh, like now this makes sense to me. Okay. So expect it to be more of a 2 week process, and it's going to close out right at the end of the month here. And that's where you're going to really get this idea here of the direction that you're heading with all of these changes that have been coming up throughout the year, specifically changes in environment, changes in work and all that. And then what does your higher self want you to know here? Trying to think of what else is going on with Gemini. I mean, we're sitting here in these air and fire signs here. Like when I'm talking about the air and fire signs in comparison to the other ones, just with all the outer planets, these air and fire signs are really the ones that they're kind of leading the way here. They're going to have a pullback, of course, like late 2027 going into 2028. There's a little bit of a pullback and some corrections, but right now they're really leading the way on these things. So what does your higher self want you to know? You are never lost, but only forging a path to new worlds. That's beautiful, especially with Uranus in your sign too. And the thing with Uranus Gemini that I've been talking about is it's like the splitting of the worlds. In New Age, people talk about New Earth, and these worlds splitting, whether or not you believe in that or anything like that, even just in like a more metaphorical sense, you can talk about, hey, like all these things, these new directions, like I'm not a lost person. I'm actually just traveling in this new direction, and that's bringing me to this new world. That's forging my path to the new worlds that are coming in, the new world coming in, and the way that it's going to reflect on the society. So just make sure that you're not feeling lost. This is what your higher self wants you to know. Make sure you're not feeling lost during this time, and that whichever direction you're supposed to go, whichever direction this eclipse is putting you on, that's really important. And it's going to, of course, 6 months from now, but also like 2 weeks from now, you're going to see this kind of process of why it needed to happen in the next 2 weeks. And then 6 months from now, when you arrive at this place, then it's really going to make sense. You always get this hindsight with any of these moon cycles, these lunar cycles. There's this hindsight. You can look back 6 months and be like, oh, that's why it happened. And so that is just beautiful there, Gemini. And now we're going to move on to Cancer. Cancer gets a little bit of similar stuff because of the way that these transits are spread through from Gemini into Leo here. So you get some similar stuff here. There's the self-worth thing that comes up, but more of the emphasis on money and specifically being able to save money. With Gemini, it's less about the saving of the money, but that's there. But with Cancer, it's like, okay, how much money do I actually need in the bank to feel safe? Because there's that safety aspect with Cancer that comes in. How much money do I need in the bank to actually feel safe about things, right? And then there's also that kind of self-worth coming in. It's like, oh, like I'm noticing that I'm feeling better when I actually save more money. You also might have had a recent infusion of money that came in, a recent wave of new resources at your disposal. It all just kind of depends on what's going on in your chart, what's going on in your life, all of that. But so you got that aspect too. And this is another case where you could kind of have a raise coming in. When you're looking at, Libra now moving into, what would that be, like your fourth house? Like there is this kind of safety you feel, but there's just this correction that's coming in. There's definitely like a weird correction coming in, because that would be it's like your fourth. I'm just doing the math here, because that's your fourth house. There is this correction that's coming in though, around that. So that's why it's been important to save recently, so you kind of know when unexpected things come up, which is this next 2 week period, then you're understanding like, okay, this is kind of what I need to really work with all of this, to really be able to hang in there. And it's like I said, it's that safety, it's that security. And there's also you could say a new level of intuitiveness that you've gotten into. Now that was more going on in July, this restructuring of the emotional mental bodies, this new level of intuitiveness that comes through. But it's just so important to remember that was to get you ready for this time that's coming in as we start to enter these more chaotic times. That's going to be like these eclipses will come in, and then these things will start to happen in the collective, and all of that will lead to some type of financial event. And that's what I was teaching you about too. One of the few water signs that's kind of hanging out in there with these air and fire signs, but you won't really shine until next year, because it's going to be the loud and passionate people who are really going to be noticed as these systems start to collapse in on themselves, and we start to need to restructure them and see what's going on. But what is your elemental energy? Luminous Lagoon. We've got right here, Luminous Lagoon. If I can get that, there we go. And with Luminous Lagoon, bathe in the luminous energies of a mystical lagoon where magic and healing abound. Very interesting. And so this really speaks to me, like if you're gonna bathe in these energies, let's talk about like a bathhouse, or not a bath, like a hot springs rather. Let's talk about like a hot springs. I guess you could say like a bathhouse. There's kind of some connotations with that, right? But no, like a hot springs or something. It's very relaxing. Okay, it's gonna just make you feel nice and comfortable and good. On some level, you can argue that there's this Cancerian level to it. I mean, you could argue some other stuff, but for the purposes of this, like very Cancerian vibe, where you're going there to just relax and feel safe, and there's even this healing energy that comes in. But bathe in the luminous energies of a mystical lagoon where magic and healing abound. So you've got like all of this work that you've been doing, especially when you're looking at Chiron here and how this touches very clearly to Chiron and Taurus. Of course, we've got the retrograde going on, but we had this sneak peek of the stuff around money. So it hit you the most out of any sign, where you were seeing financial instability, instability with your resources, even with your self-worth, that kind of stuff. And honing in on that and being able to make certain corrections, that's going to help you so much in the year ahead, but even more specifically the 6 months ahead, in planning for all these things that are kind of shifting beneath our feet right now. So that's just really beautiful right there. I've got, and then let's see what your higher self is wanting you to know about this. Yeah, Luminous Lagoon. It's like very light energies, and then the light's even being occulted on that card a little bit. That's interesting. It's like behind this smoke screen too, so it's almost like yeah, I just kind of feel like this thing is coming out of nowhere, but it's to teach you more about the financial stability, the value of building things. That's the opposite sign to you is Capricorn too. There's this oppositional energies, like the value of building more, having more structures underneath you that can support when unexpected things happen. And then through that, more things come in. That's the beautiful part. Through you navigating that energy, your higher self wants to reward you. It wants you to learn the lesson so it can reward you. That's what Jupiter does when you learn the lesson, because it's the teacher. When you learn that lesson, you get rewarded. That's where the abundance part comes in. Okay, perspective is a matter of where you stand. And I think that goes so well with that when we're really talking about these major money themes right here and major self-worth themes. One of, that I'm thinking right now out of nowhere of this thing that I saw recently where someone's grandma was telling them, if you could put if all the people in the world could put their problems in like paper slips in a bowl, would you take one of those problems at random, or would you keep your own problems? Most people would just keep their own ones because it's like the problem that but that just leads me into like when you're dealing with stuff that deals with the problems you have in life, you want to like be wary of like, well, I actually have it good in this area, in that area. I have my health, I have my family, I have whatever these things are that you hold and cherish dear to you. I would definitely say it's the family, as that Cancer energy right there, your community. But you know that this is where I'm standing here, and other people have problems that are way worse than my problem. So it is just like perspective is a matter of where you stand. Okay, totally a matter of where you're standing at any given moment. And so that's something that your higher self is giving you as a message to really anchor you moving through this time, because it is much more of a time, these next couple months, these next 6 months here, for Cancer, where it still is going to feel a little, you know, elusive to come into that, but there's this connection to the eclipse, opening that up for you through what it takes away. And then you just come back with even more because you got Jupiter up in there. And so it's this process you're going into, but that's your anchor right there, is just maintain a positive perspective on these things, because there's guaranteed there's someone dealing with it worse than you that is probably even moving through it better than you at, you know what I mean? So you just got to put that into perspective and then get into the power. You know, they may or may not be moving better than you with worse problems than you have. But no, Cancer, I'm really excited for next year with Cancer, because all the harder stuff that they've had to deal with, especially the Mercury retrograde and all that, it's all going to come in. And then we're going to move on to Leo here. And what Leos have been dealing with, I mean, the big thing, cutting off the energy vampires. That's the big one with all the Leos that I know, whether it's a Leo rising or a Leo sun. You know, I'm seeing that this big thing is this recognition of knowing who's been siphoning their energy, being able to cut that off. And this was more around the time of like Jupiter moving into Leo. So, you know, this was definitely like a few weeks ago. But you've been identifying it clearly either way. So maybe you haven't even gotten to that point, but you can see with this eclipse, like the universe is like, no, these people need to go, because you need to be in your Leo energy. You need to be in your sovereignty, in your authenticity, in your truth. How much of your truth have you been sacrificing just to be around these people who constantly siphon your energy, who live off of you? You know, I mean, really, really living off of you without paying your rent, you know, like that kind of vibe going on. That's what I'm seeing mostly with them. And stepping into this expansion of the self, this just completely new chapter of their lives where things can expand outwards. You can have much more synchronicity, much more abundance, opportunity coming through you. And it's really as long as you're living in your truth right now. So any remaining little bit of not self that you're living in, as human design would say, of not self that you're living in right now, it's really going to be cleansed away, burned away through this eclipse here. And then whatever it takes, even if you're really not liking that it took that away from you, then you're in this incredible position for the cup to be filled, for Jupiter to start filling up that cup for you and just allow beautiful things. And you won't have the energy constantly siphoned off of you in weird ways. There's so many different ways that can play out, because, you know, energy is not something we're seeing. It's just something we're feeling. So there's so many ways in which, and these are probably realizations you're coming to, especially tied over to the Lion's Gate itself. But let's give this one more little shuffle here, and we're going to see what your elemental energies are. So this is the energies to really help you move through the eclipse itself. Crystalline clarity. Perfect. Crystalline clarity. All these little flowers, so beautiful. Crystalline clarity. Attain a state of crystalline clarity, seeing through illusions and gaining insight into truth. And that's the thing with this Leo energy here with all these planets, is it does rule truth. It's truth, authenticity, authority, sovereignty, all this kind of stuff. And through the clarity that you're either going to get through this eclipse, or you've moved into a little early through the Lion's Gate, through the Jupiter and Leo, through all this stellium lineup that we're having going on in Leo. This is like where you can really just see through illusions. You can even look backwards and be like, oh, like that was kind of an illusion, a delusion that I was caught up in, that I didn't think this was affecting my energy in such a way. But right now, the big thing with Leo is the purity of energy, getting back into that state of purity of energy, and then realizing like, whoa, this is what was taken from me because I wasn't in that pure state. That is so key to be in as a Leo. Right there. And then it's in terms of what your higher self is wanting you to know. I'm trying to think of what else has been going on with Leos right now. I mean, anything else I talk about, it's really just springing from those issues. From those issues that are really coming up to be addressed. And it's about you like really taking the lead. And that's very Leo, right? To take the lead, to be center stage, but just taking the lead on a lot of just this summer energy locking in here. And then we still, of course, are going into Virgo season, and then we'll move into that fall energy. All right, we'll give this one more shuffle here. Let's see. Oh, this is perfect for Leo. You are an original, so let yourself follow your own heart. Literally perfect. I mean, could you have not picked a better card for Leo right there? Leo rules the heart. Okay, and it's that authenticity, originality, sovereignty, all those things I keep bringing up. You are an original, so let yourself follow your own heart. I mean, do I even need to say more? I could go off. Do I need to say more on that? So it's really about that. Yeah, like follow your heart, be your original self. Don't let people put you down, make you feel bad for being yourself. Maybe they've been doing that. Maybe these are the people you've recently cut yourself off from, or you need to cut yourself off from. But this eclipse, and then from now in the next 6 months, it's all about doing what your heart wants you to do, which is, it's so easy with the way society works to move away from that over a slow period of time, over years and years and years as a Leo. But now is that time where you go right back into it. We've got the South Node in Leo too, so it is calling us back to that energy for the next year and a half. And this is where you really can use that as your barometer, following your own heart to really get into that. So beautiful, beautiful reading for Leo right there. And Leos, I mean, they really have one of the best readings that you're going to get, like Leos and Sagittarians. There's those fire signs, right? They've got some of the best readings that you're going to get around this eclipse. And yeah, but there's just that removal of whatever has been getting in your energy field. Expect that, it can even be something you weren't expecting. If you've already done some removal, there's like this new thing that comes in like, oh, even that was messing with my energy field. Okay, well, it's gone now. That's the eclipse energy you got going on, Leo. But now we're going to go ahead and move to Virgo here. We'll do one more shuffle here. All right, for Virgo. Well, and what's been going on with Virgo too, we'll shuffle this one while. Virgo has been having this making moves in silence kind of vibe too. There's also been cool stuff going on in in terms of the workplace too with Virgo. There is some like interesting workplace connections that are happening. But really it's been about like locking in, doing the work, kind of staying away from people, keeping out of people's way, and just building. And it's for whatever is coming up next year for you, Virgo. There's like this big moment next year coming up for you where you really are going to feel like you're at the top of the hill. And people are going to recognize a lot of this work that's coming in. But this eclipse is about realizing early what that recognition is going to look like. And so with that recognition really coming in here around like in the next couple of weeks in this eclipse season energy, you're going to learn and see kind of the pros and cons and how you can work with it of stepping into this energy. It's a very Leo energy you'll be stepping into, being in the spotlight, being recognized for your hard work, all this kind of stuff. And then there's a little bit of a pullback that comes by the time we get into September. There's like a pullback that comes from it. And then you had this sneak peek and preview of what that energy is going to be like going into next year. And that's going to be when Jupiter moves into your first house. Moves into Virgo, this expansion of the self, this new version of the self and stuff. A lot of the stuff that Leos are dealing with this year, that's going to be what you're dealing with next year too. The only thing is you might actually become your own worst enemy in that. This is kind of the difference there. So this is very key here. The kind of taking you out of your withdrawal. You've been like withdrawn. You've been hidden away, like I said, just kind of like keeping into your own business. That's what you've been doing right here, putting in the work, all that kind of stuff. But just be ready to be seen in a much more beautiful way, much more, like a spotlight type of way, right? Get ready for that. So let's go ahead and pull. We'll do your elemental energies first. These are just going to be the energies that are assisting you. We'll do one more shuffle here during this eclipse here. This is the energy you're moving into, what's assisting you, just what you can expect, okay? Oh, interesting. Cinder convergence. Yeah, this this makes sense here. And the good thing, Virgo, is you can work with this too. I'll tell you what this means here, but you can actually work with this slowly with this card itself. But cinder convergence, find convergence in the cinders where endings give rise to new beginnings. Okay? Cinder convergence. And so this is about endings and new beginnings. And, you know, it's going to depend on your chart, but like this is where you can see like, oh, I'm going to need to make this pivot with the thing that I've been working on, with the career thing. I mean, there's just so many ways that this can play itself out, with being more true to myself, you know. But part of that is just being more recognized and all that. So there's this like ending that comes around not being seen, because you get this first wave of recognition. It can be something like that. It can be a sneak peek of the recognition. And then you have to be ready for this to be amplified in an extreme way by next year, by the middle of next year. So that's kind of the thing. And then how are you going to really, to give you a bit more guidance on that, how is higher self moving to, saying to move through that? Yeah. Very interesting. What you find may not be what you expect, but what you truly need. And that's kind of where that eclipse energy comes in, of course, too. But it's also very 12th house energy, too, which is like what we're dealing with Virgo here. There's like this 12th house vibe going on, and that is that reclusive energy that's pulling away, that's kind of staying hidden and all that stuff. But it is going to deal with things like spirits and dreams and that kind of stuff too. So it's like you've been building towards this dream, and then maybe the eclipse shows you like the dream is attainable, that metric you set out for yourself, you're going to achieve it, but it may not look the way that you thought it's going to look. And then of course you get this bit of alteration, you get this wiggle room in the next 6 months where you can kind of tailor it a little bit, but you're getting more of a reality check about it too, by it being tested by the public, by being seen, by being recognized. So great for Virgo here. I'm a Virgo rising, so always an interesting pole right there, and bittersweet, right? But no, we're gonna move on to Libra here. And with Libra, another one of these great placements that's going on. Probably the best of the air placements right now, just in terms of how much you get to relax around something like as powerful as an eclipse. What Libra's been seeing lately is your networks have been shrinking, your networks of people. This is going on in your 11th house, the stellium of Leo, among other things too. Like you got some stuff going on in your career house and all that, but you've seen this contraction, or maybe retraction is a better word, but you've seen your network shrinking right here. And so this speaks to what the eclipse is taking away. It's kind of the final version. Any of these connections that you're still hanging on to, clinging on to, that aren't working for you, in the workplace more specifically, but this can even just be within your wider friend group. It's going to be like looser associations, not necessarily like super close friends, but any of these connections you've been hanging on to, you're not allowing new things to come in, so they're going to kind of be taken away. They're going to just fall out in more of a silent way too, but they're just going to fall out. You want to stop giving energy to those things to allow Jupiter to do its work in your 11th house and to expand, and to this can be things like traveling for work that you're going to see, and then through that you're making all these new business connections. So you got to let go of this other like little side job you did or side hustle that you did, and it's like, I just don't have the time for that anymore. Or business associations, old clients. It's all going to depend on what you got going on in your life, but you can really expect to see that as the major thing that you've got going on. And so the one thing you want to be careful about is how much with all these new connections I'm making, and this is why you wanted to shed some of these old connections and why it's been occurring like that. I don't want to overcommit to things, okay? But yeah, in terms of these connections, because you're just going to have so many opportunities that are opening up in front of you. You don't want to overcommit to something, lock in on one thing, and then another opportunity comes in. You want to remain very flexible, be very much in this like airy energy, like you can almost say a Gemini type of energy, but that's like something you want to engage with right there. Okay, and then let's see what your elemental energies are for this. What is it going to be about for you moving through this eclipse, and how do you navigate this right? What kind of elemental energy should you tap into? Floral frequencies. Tune into the floral frequencies, connecting with the healing vibrations of nature's blooms. And this is really key too. I would say that you really want to make sure that you are grounding yourself during this time. A lot of things are going to be happening really fast for you, especially when it comes to people, connecting with people, all that. It's a very mental and social energy, and it can cause burnout. And that gets back to the whole thing I was talking about with, you don't want to overcommit to all these people, all these things, blah, blah, blah. But so it's like tuning into the floral frequency, and also remember, like flowers too, gardening, that's grounding. I don't know if that's something that resonates with you. Just remember that too. But yeah, tuning into the floral frequencies, connecting with the healing vibrations of nature's bloom. And so there's this healing thing, this health thing that kind of comes up too. So you want to be very aware of what's going on with your health. And this gets back, of course, to the overcommitting. Is your health going to start to take these hits because you're overcommitting on things? These are just things to kind of think about. So, and then what does your higher self want you to know for this eclipse? Yeah, definitely. I mean, just expect like to be meeting new people, new arrangements, agreements, seeing new places, because of the people that you're meeting, learning new things because of that stuff. All that's like really in play. It's just such a positive thing. The eclipse will only take out what's not serving you. And it's like you've probably already kind of identified that stuff. And the things that are happening are so good, it won't be difficult for those things to leave. So, all right. Let's see here. What does your higher self want you to know? Everything you want is on the other side of the unknown. There's a little typo in here, but yeah, everything you want is on the other side of the unknown. So, embrace that unknown, especially when it comes to those Jupiterian themes of traveling and stuff like that. It's really about just embracing the unknown, the adventure, the journey, very Jupiter vibes and all that. And then even when you're looking at the eclipse itself, that's very, when you look at it through the lens of the ancients who were looking at it, they were like, oh my gosh, the sun is dying. This is so unknown. What's happening? And that's the vibe you get of the eclipse, is like something unknown comes up, something disruptive comes up, all this stuff. So whatever this unknown thing is, everything you want is on the other side of that. Through what's being taken away, it's going to give you everything you want. And you'll be able to look back in 6 months and be like, whoa, like that needed to leave. That like sucked at first. I thought it was a loss. I thought maybe I had wasted my time on whatever this thing is, but ultimately it needed to leave so that I could have this much more beautiful thing come in that's much better for me, that's expanded my life in this and that way, and in a rapid rate over the course of 6 months, that kind of stuff. So beautiful for Libra right there. Loving that, Libra. All right, so we had Libra. Oh, and then so after Libra here, we are doing Scorpio. And with Scorpios, what we've got going on, also some interesting workplace stuff, but not in the same, it's like the complete opposite of Libra energy, where there's this ascent, there's this collaboration and all that. Scorpios have more seen like people dropping like flies in the workplace, weird things like that. People quitting, people getting fired, weird situations at work too. People getting caught doing something that they weren't supposed to be doing, all that. There's this like almost devaluation of the people around you. And you're kind of just sticking to your guns, sticking to your thing, Scorpio. And you're like, whoa, like what's going on here? And then there's even this thing around an authority figure. So this could have already happened, or you're going to see the eclipse bring it on, but an authority figure, like a boss at work, a higher up at work, there's some kind of scandal, there's some kind of big thing that happens, and then they're let go, or there's an opening. That doesn't even have to be like the higher up has this thing happening, but there's an opening for you to go into an authority position. And the big struggle is about you being sure of yourself and leaping for that position. Because you got to remember, for Scorpio, you are the scorpion. You burrow underground and all that stuff. And then you come up and you got that stinger and you can get something by surprise. This is what gets into a lot of the Scorpio rulerships too. But of being hidden, of having power, of the hidden power and all this. So you've got this hidden power. And recently with these things that have been going on in the workplace, you probably found this new level of recognition. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely expect it to come on during the eclipse. But Lionsgate could have brought it on too. But there's this new level of recognition that you get. And through that recognition for the things that you've been doing forever, but no one ever saw it because you are that hidden sign. So people won't notice these things as easily. But now that you do, there's a new level of power you hold that you aren't even aware of that you hold yet. And through that, you can use that to achieve what you want to within the workspace. And the only thing is there's going to be this thing of what is this going to pull away from my home life? What is this going to pull away from my security? There's some trade-off between your home life and between security to take this amazing opportunity that's going to happen because everyone else around you is just messing up, you know? So that's kind of like, you can apply that in a couple different ways too, but this is just kind of like this new level of being seen, of recognition, of stepping up into responsibility. And then what is that going to take from your comfort, from your home life, from one of those things, okay? But your elemental energies that are coming in through that. Moonlit meadows. Wander through the moonlit meadows where the gentle touch of moonbeams offers serenity. Okay, the moonlit so this would be a time, I would say, if this is the energy of the eclipse here, this is that time. Of course, there is moving on whatever this brings up. Remember, this is a 6-month transit too. So you could maybe see that this eclipse ends up being where it brings up that situation that I'm whatever the situation is that I'm talking about, and you kind of how would I say this? You sit on it and think, but it's like if the opportunity presents itself, you still want to jump on that opportunity, but it's more like not about being vicious about it, not seeming too eager, not wanting it too much, more just kind of knowing it. You deserve this opportunity. You deserve to step into this role of authority because everyone else keeps messing up around it. You've watched people come and go and they just keep messing it up. There's that kind of stuff too. But yeah, wander through the moonlit meadows where the gentle touch of moonbeams offers serenity. I'm going to grab a clarifier card for that one too. Essence of equinox. Absorb the essence of the equinox, finding balance between light and dark within. I feel like that helps me understand this a little bit more too. Okay, because yeah, it's about tempering yourself. It's not getting too cutthroat because you can be cutthroat, Scorpio, too. So it's like, yes, you want to be able to jump up on this opportunity, but just kind of have this balance between it. Don't do anything to stab someone in the back to do it. Don't be too proactive on it. Just sit, and when the time is right, you know when to go in this more serene type of vibe of getting into whatever this opening, like that's the thing with the Scorpio. It's like the only reading I'm seeing like this where there's this kind of opening that you need to jump on. Okay, but I guess through doing that, you need to be in a place of balance. You need to be in a place of serenity and just watching things unfold rather than getting involved in them and then having to balance this light and dark side that you have, you know, your angel and your demon and all that. So that I like that we did the clarifier card for that. That helps a lot. And then what would your higher self like you to know about these energies that you're moving into, these elemental energies you're moving into? What does your higher self want you to know to help you navigate? Oh, well, we've got a jumper there, so we'll see what this is. Oh, did I do this? Like, okay, cool. I'm like, did I put that backwards? So you got, look for the signs that will guide you to the destiny you have known all along. I think that goes perfectly with what I'm saying, is that like, there's going to be a sign, there's going to be a message that comes through. That's when you jump on it. That's when you initiate on it. But until then, stay tranquil, stay serene, stay calm. Don't try to, you know, and then you're going to get that guide that comes through that tells you when it's time to act, because you'll have that window that you need. It's a very delicate balance to find here with Scorpio, but there is something opening up for you. And this is more specifically around career. It can be around your reputation too. Like I said, if this is like a family situation or something going on where you need to step in and take some authority figure, as an example, I can think of, you know, like a power of attorney over someone who's like mishandling the family resources, or just like weird types of things like that too. There's like the reputation coming in, but it's really just about that sign that you wait for to come in, and then step in and know that like you're going to be fully supported by the universe in whatever you say, and you'll be in this amazing sense of power too, which of course Scorpio rules power. So it's like you step into this power, you go through this transformation. The eclipse is about that. But yeah, the next 6 months here will guide you, because it'll be maybe uncomfortable when you get into that role, when you're used to that authority, when you have to call shots and make decisions in a bigger way. But there will be signs to guide you to the destiny that's going to bring you to that destiny that you've known all along. So that's the really important thing there. All right. Scorpio, now we're going to move over to Sagittarius. All right, Sagittarius. Let me get the elemental. And what's going on with Sagittarius right now, I've been talking about this a little bit here, but with Sagittarius, we're really dealing with, there's this new belief system that you're in, like this new, all this stuff around belief, and everyone has had this bit of restructuring around the belief system this year, but Sagittarius has had the most of it. And it's because they're gearing up to be this example. There's going to be this example that they're giving around the belief system, on how to restructure the belief system, how to be able to pivot from dogmatic beliefs and holding on to things. I've seen they are going back to different types of religions from when they were younger, or just to a general spirituality they practiced when they were younger, taking the valuable stuff from it, like integrating it, seeing what's important. It's teaching you something, okay? And this can also be like going back to school, relearning a topic. You got all these things where it comes to like higher knowledge, just knowledge in general, faith. And then you can also have like some unexpected trips now all of a sudden, like, oh, and this would be a sustained thing over the next 6 months. Like, you're realizing over the next 6 months you're going to need to be traveling some more or something, or going to like a faraway place. There's that aspect of it too. But that's like the huge thing I've been seeing. But yeah, it could be back to school, could be a surprise vacation, even stuff like that. That's what's coming in. But this eclipse energy, that's what's really triggering that. You know, like not so much the belief stuff, but that this could be where you throw out something that you learned, that you held as a belief for a long time, as you've been reevaluating your beliefs. That's kind of what I see with the eclipse. But so you've got that. But yeah, it can be, and of course it can be around school, but there's something that's going to be taken out. And for most people, it's like a mentor that they looked up to. They just like can't deal with them anymore. They're over it. A teacher, that kind of stuff. Being taken out, and then realizing like what work of theirs you can take with, and then what you should leave behind. Okay, so what elemental energies are going to go good for you right now? Ooh, interesting. Tempestuous transformation. Navigate the tempestuous energies of transformation, emerging wiser and stronger. And that just goes perfectly with what we were talking about. You know, there's like that wisdom part of Sagittarius too. It does rule that wisdom. But, you know, with this stuff going on in your 9th house, it's the house of Sagittarius there. You got Jupiter, the ruling planet, in there right now too. So this is where you're taking the lead on wisdom, on being able to teach people how to not get locked into certain belief systems and all that. So you're going through those pivots now, and having that change now through this eclipse of like, what have I allowed myself to believe in that's no longer serving me? This is like the people that would be really good for this eclipse, doing like a burning ritual, writing down like beliefs that are limiting beliefs that you have, and then burning those. That would be a perfect ritual to do, like as a Sag. Excuse me. So you got that kind of stuff, but yeah, navigate the tempestuous energies of transformation, emerging wiser and stronger. That's beautiful. And so that's going to really help you navigate like the eclipse, the next 6 months and everything like that. That's the thing, is like you transform and come into this new power through the wisdom that you carry, and that's only through questioning your belief systems, adjusting your belief systems, all that kind of stuff. So, and then your message from your higher self. Message from your higher self. This will be an interesting one here, huh? Sagittarius, message from your higher self. Oh, cool. I like this. Be the brave and authentic soul you were always destined to be. You got a little astronaut with all the stars and the nebula and stuff in the background. And really, as you have Jupiter moving into Leo here, it is really about like that braveness, that authenticity, everything right there. That's so key. And so, yeah, the brave and authentic soul you were always destined to be. It's like these new beliefs that have been wired into you that are still, they're getting these like last minute adjustments and clearings from the eclipse right here. It's going to be so that you can really step into this bravery, authenticity. Leo rules bravery too. This bravery and authenticity and all these beautiful things here. And one of the ways in which you will be one of these leaders in this next year. There's amazing leadership role that you can take on in terms of what we're going to really see the collective going through now that we're all in this new energy and we're starting to see it manifest on the material plane here. So extremely beautiful there, Sag. And then, of course, we're going to move over here to Capricorn next. Capricorns have been dealing with Capricorns, there was some like setback, probably like a year and a half ago, a year to a year and a half ago, some type of major setback, and you've been like rebuilding and restructuring, coming back from that. And then even back in February, there was probably some pivot. There's probably like where you got the idea of how you could build things, how you could make it work. You're finally at this point now where you have some good momentum going. Okay, you got good momentum going. Everything's falling into place, right? And really, this time has been about, hopefully you've been engaged in this, but it's about paying off any debts you may have accumulated, whether from people or from actual like companies or whatever, you know, but debts that you may have accumulated to kind of rebuild and repivot back when all this started happening a year and a half ago or so, you know, up until through February. There's just kind of adjusting for things. You had to make all these pivots and changes. It could have even been around like a living situation, you know, kind of deals with these structural energy. So like you can make that reach for the living situation thing going on. But no, now you're seeing where you've been putting your energy into. It has great potential. It has great momentum, and it is ready to really take off. And it's this eclipse energy that's going to clear out the rest of the energies right now that need to be cleared out in order for this expansion to happen with whatever this thing is that you've been building in your life. Okay, this structure that you've been building, whatever this is, something that you can depend on, this institution, you could even say, right? But no, it's something that will stand the test of time. It's got a good public facing image for you, and you can see more publicity itself from this thing. But it's about what needs to come in and what needs to leave for all of that to happen, for that expansionary period to start to unfold for you. And the big important thing with this is making sure you've paid back karmically and like payment wise people who have supported you in this time where you've been restructuring and getting back into your momentum, because you're going to grow a lot faster than you're used to seeing as a Capricorn. Okay, you're always building something as a Capricorn, so these setbacks can be tough. But now that you've made it back from the setback, you're going to see how fast you're actually building, because you're usually a slow and steady builder over years, but you're going to see this exponential takeoff. That's pretty incredible. So what's your elemental energy for this? Thunderous revelation. So this is what the energy that the eclipse is bringing in for you and to focus on for that next 6 months. Thunderous revelation. Experience a thunderous revelation, shaking loose insights and awakening dormant awareness. And you've got that like lightning going on. There's a person even standing. It's kind of small, but there's a person standing at the bottom there. Yeah, that's beautiful. And this is kind of like what I'm saying is there's this, it's this revelation about the direction in which your business, your career, like any of these things can happen. Just that specific thing you've been working on building all year, what direction that can go in, okay? And this revelation around it. And this eclipse season is going to bring that in, this energy that you're in this eclipse season, that's going to come in right here, and it's going to teach you about that. And the only thing that's going to get in that way is, like I said, owing something to someone. You don't want to owe something to someone as you have your big blow up. You know, it's incredible. So very beautiful. Expect to be more seen. Expect to be dealing with more people, more clients, if that's something you're dealing with, or just more even like business connections, you could say. Something like that. But yeah, it's like this payoff finally of everything that you've been working on that's coming through right now. So it's perfect. And then what your higher self wants you to know in terms of moving through this eclipse, what it's going to bring on and how it's going to like affect you in the next 6 months. What does your higher self want you to know? Perfect. Everything is unfolding as it should be. And this is the thing, because you can kind of get in that control freak energy as a Capricorn. you know, and it's about just letting these things unfold naturally, not needing everything to be in its perfect spot, you know, or to look a certain way. This is the key thing with Capricorn, not needing everything to look a certain way. Now, you've probably gotten a lot better with this anyway because of us having the South Node in Virgo for the year and a half. That's kind of really timed around when you saw this originally, and you've learned to pivot, you learned to take on this Pisces energy, and especially because we're going to have this Pisces eclipse that comes up here at the end of August. So, you know, like really, this should be something you're already good at, but this is just the reminder from your higher self not to fall back into that energy, because that's what brought about this need to rebuild and restructure things in the first place. Okay, so just make sure you're not engaging with that energy, you're not giving it the time of day or anything like that. Okay, perfect. So yeah, everything is unfolding as it should be. I think that's so beautiful for Capricorn. And we can move ahead and go to Aquarius here. And with Aquarius, they've been dealing with, I mean, you can say like open conflict right now. It can be open conflict in the marriage, but what I've seen more of is open conflict in the workplace. So some kind of open conflict in the workplace that has popped off recently. And the eclipse is going to like remove you from this conflictory energy, okay? From being in this, because this is like an energy that you've been dealing with on a daily basis, pretty much. On a damn near daily basis, you've been dealing with this energy. And the universe doesn't want you dealing with that anymore, because with the placements that you have going on right now, I mean, it's just absurd that you should even be dealing with that, with those placements, because, yeah, no, you don't want to be dealing with that. So yeah, with Aquarius right now, the big thing, there's even a thing that comes up around children too. If you have children, that could be coming up, whether it's being able to spend more time or less time with the children. But then there's a creativity thing specifically coming up, kind of like with Aries there too. There's like the children and creativity stuff. But there's a creativity thing that's coming up, getting back into creative work, having more leeway in the workplace to be creative, having more creative agency. It really just depends on what your job is, and maybe you've been butting heads with a person in the job because like you have these ideas for the way that you want things to be in the company, the way that they could be. They're butting heads with you, something like that. But expect like whether they get removed, you can see something like that. Like all of a sudden they need to quit their job, they get fired or something like that, and you're no longer butting heads with this person. But expect that open conflict to go away. Or if it's something in the marriage too, this is where you can have the more extreme thing of something coming up, and there would be something tied in with the kids too, if you have kids, or with like what you care about, what you're passionate about, some type of time with that, and then a big eclipse event that removes that energy from your life too, so you can get back into being in your heart space, being in your center. These are all kind of the things that you could be dealing with. But that's like really the big thing is just expect like an open adversary, someone who's been adversarial to you on a daily basis, to really be removed, and it's going to give you a new level of clarity around what's important to you, okay, and what you want to focus on versus what you've been focusing on. So expect that for the eclipse. And then some great energy here that is going to help assist you during this eclipse with this elemental energies. All right, aerial aspirations. Reach for aerial aspirations, guided by the winds of possibility to new heights. And that's just like, it's so beautiful for Aquarius too, because it does rule like the sky, reaching high, reaching into the heavens, taking things down, that's where they get their very ethereal ideas. They're very conceptual thinkers, so you get, aerial aspirations. Reach for aerial aspirations. Guided by the winds of possibility to new heights. And you even get that with Aquarius. You can say that it's waves, you can say it's vibrations for the sign of Aquarius, but you could also say it's like the winds. You could say that too, however you want to interpret that sign for the zodiac, their glyph, their symbol. But no, it's about like you could be reaching higher than you're reaching now. You could be going and doing so much more than you're doing now. And this eclipse is around removing that, okay? And the next 6 months too is going to be kind of falling into this new place of after that's been removed, however that plays out. you know, whether it's a slow burn or it's an immediate thing, because this is, you go from eclipse season to eclipse season, you know, and you see, and you look back and see the change. Like you can look back to that February-ish time frame, January, February, and like see the difference in the eclipses, you know. So you got that going on. But yeah, just make sure you're reaching high for the sky, knowing like you're capable of anything right now, okay? And you can reach new heights with those things. That's part of this Aquarius energy. And then this gets back to what I'm saying about the air signs, the fire signs, you know, all that stuff. And what does your higher self want you to know? What's going to help you move through this? All right, there are many doors that lead to the place you truly belong. And so that's the thing. Anything that could feel like a setback right now, it's bringing you to the place you truly belong. Just like we had with one of the other readings too, is like just really trusting in the process. And then remember, one of these eclipses we're having, it's a Pisces eclipse that is about, you know, the faith, and more so about like giving it up to spirit, you know, giving it up to your higher self. It's really like the higher self and all that stuff, and just being able like to not need it to all have plan, to all be perfect and all that stuff. So as we've had the nodes that have moved out of Virgo and Pisces now and into Leo and Aquarius, that last year and a half was already teaching us, well, this is our farewell when we go into that eclipse at the end of the month, the lunar eclipse. It's our farewell to that energy. And then what do we want to take with us? And that's the part you can take with you. That's the part you were always supposed to take with you of that Pisces energy. There are many doors that lead to the place you truly belong. Okay, so beautiful here. And, you know, kind of more difficult, but difficult in the sense it's just like, dude, you have no idea what you're even capable of, Aquarius. Especially in this new energy, especially this next 20 years of transformation around this Aquarius energy with that Pluto. So, you know, you just want to really be mindful of that. Like, you're always capable of more than you probably think you are, Aquarius. But last and certainly not least, Pisces. And I always say last and not least because Pisces rules the most stuff. So many rulerships. It's always hard to like lock on to all of them, you know. And then some of them can seem a little counterintuitive, but that's kind of the fun part. And I'm not even saying they are counterintuitive. They just can seem like that. All right. So the things that are going on with Pisces, by the way. Pisces right now is dealing with some interesting home stuff. It is dealing with their daily work, like Aquarius, but more specifically, there's something going on at home that's affecting the daily work. There's something going on with the daily work that's affecting the home. There's like this interesting little play between them, whether it's someone that you live with. And the whole idea is for Pisces, the home is kind of like a dream realm in itself. It is like a place of escapism and all that. And so you have to ask yourself, have you been escaping too much? Have you been self-soothing with like, you know, substances, with food, with any of that kind of stuff? Have you been kind of leaning in on that instead of kind of leaning in on formulating the dreams for yourself that you could do, the new ways in which you could go about your daily work grind, where you could make more money, where you could have a change in your work environment if it's something that you're not liking, all that stuff. And then the work environment itself, is there something about the people that you're interacting with where the vibe has changed? And then what is that vibe change telling you? Like, how do you feel when you get home? Are you feeling in that same Piscean way? It's all about connecting with the Pisces energy of being able to formulate a dream and work towards that dream. And I would specifically say, look back towards your New Year's resolution that you made. Well, how much progress have you made on it by now, Pisces? If you're feeling like you haven't made progress on that New Year's resolution, then you're probably more in this like illusory, you know, putting things off type of energy. And it's so hard to nail that down as a Pisces. It's like, where am I putting things off by kind of going into this dream realm, by going into an altered state, you know? And this is where I bring up like, you know, smoking weed or like drinking or something like that, because that's very, those two are very like more on the Pisces side. When you get into the harder drugs, you're kind of moving into Scorpio a little bit, you know, much more actually, not just a little bit, but no, it's like, so am I self-soothing with substances? Am I self-soothing by playing video games? Like, do I just get home and just distract myself and do something where I'm not even achieving anything, you know, like not even going deep spiritually? That's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, well then you probably haven't even made your New Year's resolution, and you're going to want to really kind of hone in on that, you know? And then in terms of like the positive side though for Pisces there, it can be where you've like truly seen your dreams come true lately. And then like through your dreams coming true, like has that created some shift in your home living space? Is it time to upgrade the home living space? You know, is someone living there getting in the way of your dreams? There's all these kind of aspects. Like I said, Pisces has the most rulerships, but then there is this tie-in with your daily work environment and how that daily work environment should look. And then also your health, your mental health specifically, but just your health in general. You want to be very aware of that. Something going on with the health. If you're seeing health stuff come up, if your self-soothing is now creating health issues, weight gain, health problems coming up, that kind of stuff, that's another barometer that you can use. But it's really all about getting into the space of the natural Pisces energy of getting people to connect with their higher selves through you being in communion with your higher self. And you have to ask yourself, am I in that communion with my higher self? So let's look at these energies here. All right. And then we're going to actually, we already got that card. We'll use this card again, but we're going to pull a clarifier card. Okay. So we've got cinder convergence. Find a convergence in the cinders where endings give rise to new beginnings. Okay. Cinder convergence. Powerful card, right? To get that one again. But that goes in with the Pisces thing, is like what this eclipse is really about bringing in here. And what you want to remember is for this eclipse, dude, it's like there's this one change that you need to make that's right in front of you, that's blaring you in the face, that'll make everything else fall into place perfectly as a Pisces, okay? But it's like you got to take that action to actually have the new beginning. It's like if you're going to focus on these other things and try to change those, you're going to see them continually revert back or not bear fruit until you change the one thing. So whether it is something in your health, in your daily routine, in your work environment, whether it's something in the home, someone in the home, all these things, the vibe of the home, you know, like making sure that's updated to be in line with your Pisces aesthetic. You know, there's that thing going on too, but all of these things are really going to get into like a new beginning that comes through with what the eclipse is bringing in. And so are you going to allow that to be forced, or is it you're going to let the universe like shove your face in it, like in the dirt with it? Or is that going to be something that you want to make the choice of? Now, you had the Lion's Gate to identify that stuff, and that theme should have come up. You should have some kind of consciousness of that. But, you know, so that's the cinder convergence, these convergence of things that are going to burn something away for you. That's that eclipse energy, so that you can really get on that path and be reoriented with whatever your like New Year's resolution was, you know, or just whatever you were really dreaming of bringing into this world at the beginning of the year, that it just seems like it's far out of reach now, you know? Maybe it's something like that. But like I said, you could be on the side of this where you've seen your dreams come true, truly and ultimately. And maybe there's just a little alteration because we got that Saturn retrograde. Maybe there's a little alteration that you need to make with that. Just a little tiny thing. And it's like, oh, okay. And that'll be through the eclipse, excuse me, taking something out. That'll be through the eclipse taking something out. And then you're like, oh, okay, so my dream could have even been bigger. I could have dreamed bigger. I could have done these things in a much more different way. And that can even be someone approaching you at work too. There could be some interesting magic that happens there too. So it's whatever side of the Pisces you're on, if you're on the lower octave or the higher octave of the Pisces energy right now. Whether you're in the delusion, the escapism, or you're in the like, whoa, this is the dream I set in front of myself towards the beginning of the year. This is where I'm at. This is the progress I've made. That's amazing. So you've got those two things. Or that like, well, those two things, but I need to pull another card here. So let's pull one more card since we have that cinder convergence. Of course, Pisces gets two cards, right? Like I said, it's got the most rulership. So it's like, all right. Ethereal emanations radiate with ethereal emanations, embodying the divine essence that flows through all things. And then you got this beautiful thing right here. And this is really getting into that positive side of Pisces. If you're feeling yourself vibing with that, the higher octave, if you feel like you've done your New Year's resolutions and more kind of thing. But ethereal emanations radiate with ethereal emanations, embodying the divine essence that flows through all things. And that's really like the thing is, this is the true Piscean energy we're talking about. Not disconnecting, not being out in some other Pisces land, okay, which you're good at and it's fun And I get it. And I like to do that too, as someone who isn't even a Pisces, you know, but right here, this is about more tapping into the Uranian energy, the ethereal energy, okay? That's the energy that you're really wanting to connect with and to tap into. If you're going to be like, because you don't want to like go into the full Saturnian energy. I get that as a Pisces. And I'm not asking you to do something that you're just not well equipped to do necessarily all the time. What I am saying though is like, no, we're not in this water earth backdrop of outer planets anymore. We're in this air and fire. So if you got to pick something for that that's going to match your vibration really well, it's not like you can pick Pluto or something, you know, like that's going to be of the water. You're going to want to pick Uranus, okay? And so that's that ethereal energy. It's the disruptive, rebellious, that kind of stuff. So taking on some of that kind of energy and then like radiating that, okay? And that is like the backdrop energy. That's the backdrop we've got going on right now, especially with like Pluto also in there. And then through that, you can connect to some of that wateriness because you got Pluto in there and stuff. But it's less about that because these aren't personal planets. These are collective planets. It's less about that. It's more about, it's the new backdrop we're in. Okay. So we got that. And then what does your higher self want you to know, Pisces? All right. Higher self message for Pisces. This should be an interesting one. All right. Let's see here. It's perfect. Intention and action launch all your dreams. And so I will just double right back to what I was saying here. You know, have you fulfilled your dreams that you set out for yourself at the beginning of the year? Have you fulfilled that New Year's resolution? That is the biggest barometer right there. And it's going to be hard. I know there could be like Pisces that'll listen to this and just be like, no, like, but you know, like, no, but really, like, that's kind of your biggest barometer is like, because you don't know if you're in the negative side, the lower octave of Pisces, and no one can break you out of it. No one can snap you out of it, but you have barometers you can use. And the dream stuff is such a great barometer right now with the conjunction we had at the beginning of the year. The things that I was dreaming about, the things I wanted to do, my New Year's resolutions, have I made any meaningful, you know, progress on that? If you haven't, then it's like, okay, well, you still can. This eclipse is going to bring in something that's going to give you the perfect opening for that over the next 6 months here. But you just have to be willing to let go of that, or you're going to spend 6 months clawing back at this type of energy that you just refuse to let go of. Intention and action launch all your dreams. Okay. And then you'll be able to catch up and you'll be able to pass up people like a Capricorn who's got this amazing blow up, you know, but it's about really knowing what we're clearing out from the Pisces energy that we've been in for like 15 years. What are we clearing out from that energy? What can you bring with you? And then the full clarity of that comes in about 2 weeks, you know, at the end of August here when we have that lunar eclipse in Pisces there. So, all right. So we did all the zodiac signs. I'm just going to do one more collective reading here. And I just had a jumper. Let me see if I can grab it. Oh, that was just the bottom card. We won't pull that one again. I just grabbed it kind of quick. It was the that ethereal emanations one. We'll give this a nice good shuffle. Yeah, so we're going to do this collective reading and just kind of see what can we expect on the world stage to see throughout this eclipse season, you know? And what would Spirit want to tell us as a collective? Now we've got a jumper or a faller, but we just had one come out here. So, embers of transformation. Witness the embers of transformation within, guiding you through personal growth and change. So whatever we're going to see, it is like very centered on this personal growth. Whether it is a world event, whether it's just this revolutionary thing of us all growing a lot within, but we're being prepared for the things that are going to be coming in with the dissolution of these structures and institutions here that we're seeing happen as all these institutions begin to fail us, as we notice they're lying to us, as there's this break in the social contract. You know, not that we ever knew that we signed up for a social contract, but it's like we kind of on some level knew like, okay, we do this, then we get this. We get to buy a home at a certain point. we get a job after we've completed school, like one of these things, but all of these social contracts have been broken. And now it's even getting into the social contract being broken on just being able to buy and afford simple food. You know what I mean? So as you see all these structures do it's about the personal growth that's going to be within us. How can we connect with other people too and sidestep these institutions and systems that are going to try to put further control on us so that they don't die? Okay, because these new institutions are not new, these old institutions, what they've done now is when they first came about, it was about honoring and protecting life. Okay, whether you're talking about the institution of marriage, which is like kind of gone out the window, the institution, like all these institutions that I brought up, okay, they were, when they originally came about, they served a great function of honoring and protecting life. But now, as we've seen with stuff like the Epstein files, they just honor and protect power. That's all they're doing, honoring and protecting power. And we have that South Node in Leo now. It's time for us to be cognizant of that, aware of that. With the eclipse energy coming in, we can now see that. And so this is going to be very transformational on a personal level for a lot of people. And the next thing that we have here, the last thing, the message from Spirit to the collective on how to really navigate the energy of the next 6 months. And just with how, chaotic we're going to see it get. And not even that it so much needs to be in our personal lives. I think a lot of us have done a lot of the heavy lifting and we get to tie a bow on it during this eclipse season. But there will be a reverberation that goes back. Beautiful. Beautiful message from Spirit. Let your true colors show so your tribe knows how to find you. And this gets into that collaborative energy right here. Look at the auroras, magnetic, like I was talking about before. So you got that vibe with the moon and the magnetism, the eclipse rather. But let your true colors show so your tribe knows how to find you. And this really is that whole energy of, now we have this new backdrop that includes Pluto and Aquarius, that includes Uranus and Gemini, okay? And these two planets together, what they're going to do is they're going to actually allow us to find people to where we can sidestep these failing institutions, these failing structures and systems and all this stuff. We can sidestep these things. We can get around the collapsing currency, the currency wars that are going to be coming in. All of these things that you can see happen the last time we had these cycles of different planets, okay? They're coming back again. We're just in the early stages of it. And all you have to do is just like be yourself, show your true colors. This is what the Leo energy is about. It's that authenticity. It's being from that heart-centered space and being honest and true to yourself. Let that come through, okay? And people, like-minded people will find you. You're giving off that authentic energy. You're giving off that vibration. Like vibrations find each other. Similar vibrations find each other. So other people giving off their true colors who are going to fit within that, they're going to find you, and we can move through this easily. Well, so many people are panicking and mourning the loss of certain systems, thinking it's the end of the world. We get to create new systems with people who are like-minded that'll stand the test of time, just like the founding fathers did, okay? There was a system they built that stood the test of time. And you can say like, well, it's only 200 years old, 250 years old. Is that really standing the test of time if it's falling apart right now? It's like, well, look at how it spread to the rest of the world, how it kept everything in line, okay? You got to look at kind of that aspect of it, and then what alterations, what ways in which are we going to set this up to where it doesn't get to the protecting of power? Because if it continued to honor life and protect life, I'd say that's a pretty good system. But we have all these standards that came about from that system. Our modern legal courts are, like a lot of fairness that we saw for a long time, and now is about just making those alterations. And time speeds up, cycles speed up. So we're going to see that, new founding documents that have to do with AI, all sorts of stuff like that. So I hope everyone has a great eclipse and a great eclipse season, and you move through it great. And just know it's going to be a good eclipse, okay? It's like it's actually a good eclipse that we can have. I'm not speaking to the world events we may see pop off, but for you in your own personal life, you're going to be able to look back at this eclipse in 6 months and realize why everything happened for you the way that it happened. So thank you for tuning in. Nightslight Astrology here. I've got links in the profile, linktree/Nightslight, nightslight.co. If you ever want a personal reading, we can go very in-depth, human design, transits, all sorts of stuff, very competitive rates. So But yeah, have a great eclipse, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Bye for now.